This movie shows the option of using Revit families. If you look in the project browser, you see that there are a number of families delivered with within the template that you begin with the project with. Now the idea is that you can actually bring them in, and if I use something like place on face, you'll see that they reorientate based on the face that I'm placing them. Those, if you think of those as representing different mass elements that might make up a building, like maybe a stairwell or a entry foyer, or parts that you could then place together and treat as if they were one building, because you could apply floors to them, multiple selection, and say, hey, you know what, all of that represents a building, and apply floors to it, as I'm studying all of that. That's one way of using masses. You could also make them parametric. So the example I've got here is if I go out and I say import load families, I'm looking in my folder of I've got some kind of typical examples of how I think people might want to use mass families. I'm going to pick on the option that says custom school. I'm going to pick on the house gable. I'm looking at the tree conical and tree umbrella, solar rack, and maybe tapered tower. I'll use those as options. Notice that when I bring them in, I'm not placing them immediately, but you'll see them appear here on the project browser. So when it comes to me wanting to create a context for my site, I could be doing something like this, where I go and say, let's find the tower tapered and bring that in. Let's place it maybe a few times in my project. These are created in such a way that they are parametric. You see that if I change the offset distance at the top of my tapered tower, or the block length, or the block height. So another way of using the families would be typical building forms, if you like, and then you can bring them in, and these are made so that they're individually editable, because they have instance parameters that are means that each instance of the same building can have those parameters edited. Another option would be something like maybe the tree conical. I'm just showing that you could do like parametric content. So when I bring that tree in, I could actually be picking it and saying, well, its canopy height is 10 feet off the ground, the actual canopy is maybe 40 feet, and the actual height of the tree is maybe something like 70 feet. A little hard to see, and I think actually messed that up a little bit. It's but here's the other neat thing about it is I'm going to turn off the show. I'm going to turn my model a little bit. I must have created that in a wrong way. So let me say modify align to the ground level, the ground floor of the bottom of my tree. So I can also have these mass objects. Another example would be, so I can have different types. Imagine I could, if I wanted, create different forms for my trees. That one I created correctly, so it was placed on the ground floor. The other option up here would be, maybe it might be even building forms that are already massed out, as you were. In other words, this represents a mass that's on the floor of the building, but this is a school that has an outside patio, shading over the patio, and this is the shape of the actual classroom with different activities within it. So, you know, having master out as a family once, I could use it in multiple projects. Probably wouldn't need to have the ground mass in that. And in fact, if I want to get rid of it, I'll say edit family. I'll pick a 3D view of the model, and I'll just delete that mass. It was there initially to do a shadow study. I'm just going to take it out, and then I'm going to say save that and replace the old one and load it into my project and overwrite the old one that I've got there. So I don't actually need to have a ground plane, I just have the actual form of the building. The other thing that I might do would be, let's say, the house gable. So this is another example of just parametric content. And this I created the sketch not on the ground plane but on say a side view. Pop that into my model, and then I can because there are parameters, I could say make the overhang, maybe I'm going to exaggerate it so you can see 16 feet, make the house depth 50 feet, make the eaves height 11 feet. Let's change the, so I could be, let me just turn on the shadows here just to give you an idea. So I could actually be editing this stuff and seeing some consequences of the building form by saying, what if I reduce that to an overhang of just 1 foot? The other thing that I wanted to point out is I could actually like bring in these forms. This is a house, but imagine it was something representing an elevator. So you see I can actually place them on the faces, even the curved face, you know, of objects that are in my model. So maybe a better application of that would be to say, what if I brought in my solar rack panel, just bring it in, and I'm saying put that on the face of the school here. I'm going to hit the space bar to turn it at 90 degrees and place it in here. There's my conceptual school with the conceptual panel on it, and if I pick the panel and say edit the type here, I could go up and say set it at 38 degrees or change the sizes, say OK and apply, and drive the angle of my solar panels in my mass model. And just to show you, if I go create similar, I could be placing it on, say, the face of my roof, and then setting in panels there. So mass families might be a good way to have a library of typical building components or site components that you could bring into your mass models to create context.